Hello and welcome to Ode to Games. I'm Kevin Valleen, joined alongside Logan Plant. How you doing, Logan?
I'm doing great, Kev. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. We're going to be talking about a lot about Sonic today, so I'm very excited to relive some old memories. We've also got Zach Ross here. How you doing, Zach?
I was doing good until I found out we were talking about Sonic later today, and I've got some pretty rough Sonic memories that we're going to have to go through again.
It's
Oh,
going to be great, reliving some wonderful memories of playing through Sonic's best 3D outings.
I've never
Plus,
had
we
so many good, bad memories.
got a lot of those.
are they good, bad, or bad, good? Bad, good memories? No, good,
They're,
bad
They're
memories.
they're
Yeah,
they're good bad
yeah,
memories.
yeah.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so not a whole lot of news this week. We're recording this right before all of the showcases kick off here. We've got Jeff Keighley's thing going up pretty soon here. We've got Microsoft's coming up on the weekend. And then Nintendo's thing, whatever that's going to turn out to be, will probably, maybe happen next week. Logan, what was your prediction again?
My prediction was that it would be announced today, the day we're recording, and go up on Tuesday. So we'll see. Has not happened yet.
We'll see. We'll see if it goes up on Tuesday. But at the very least, even if they don't have that stuff, we'll have Microsoft and Jeff Keighley's Summer Games Fest. But we're recording this before all that happens, so not a whole lot of news. But we do have Mario Strikers Battle League.
Whoa.
I was able to play a bit of it for the playtest, but Logan, you have played a lot more. What are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, so I'm working on the guide for IGN, so I've been playing the game for a while, and I really, really like it. I think it's safe to say Strikers is back. I think it is instantly the best sports game Nintendo's put out on Switch. It's better than tennis, it's better than golf, it's better than Switch Sports. It is really, really good. The single player content is a little bit light. I think that is the main thing that holds this game back just a little bit for me. But I guess that was always kind of the case in Strikers. It was really about playing your friends in local grudge matches. You had the cup battles in the old ones, but there's never been like a big story mode or anything. And that is the same here. There are cup battles. There's some easier ones. There's some harder ones. But once you finish those, there's not much else to do offline. A lot of it wants you to take it online. It wants you to play in this Strikers Club mode, which haven't been able to really get into at all yet since the game hasn't launched. And I don't know anybody else that has it right now. But I think it'll be a lot of fun to hop in online. I did get to do some online play sessions, and it was pretty smooth for the most part. I had a couple matches really impacted by lag, but overall it was a really smooth experience. I think the new gear system is a lot of fun. You can make the characters look super cool. I have decked out Toad to have max speed. He has 25 speed. He can't do much else, but if the ball is loose, I switch to Toad and I sprint to it and I beat everybody else there. And that's super fun. So, yeah, it does feel like Strikers is back. It's definitely a different vibe overall. Kevin and I had talked about this a little bit before launch that it didn't feel quite as gritty and angry and intense as the old ones. I would say that is true. The celebrations are a bit toned back, and there's more smiles and happiness from the characters than pure hate and rage from the first two Strikers games. But it still definitely does have attitude, and I think the gameplay is probably the best Strikers gameplay has ever been. It's way more technical than before. It actually took me a while to kind of get a grasp on it. Like the different types of passes you can do. Like there's a lob pass where you have to like hold a trigger and then hold a pass button, and then a reticle appears on the field, and you can aim like where you want to pass it to, and then one of your other characters will sprint over there, and you can try and get off a perfect shot from there. The hyper strikes work differently, right? You have to pick up this orb, and only when you are charged up with this orb can anyone on your team actually perform a hyper strike. So there's some differences that I wasn't sure how they were going to shake out, but they all work really, really well. And yeah, I think it's just going to be a ton of fun to be part of the online community once this thing is out.
Yeah, definitely excited to try out the club feature, especially with a large group of people, which I think we've got over 10 people possibly.
Yeah, you can have
in a
up to
club.
20 people in your club, and yeah, we already have like 9 or 10 lined up. If Zach gets it, I think he makes us an even 10 if he picks up the game.
Pressure on Zach.
You know I like even numbers.
Yeah, what
Yeah.
do you think about the orb? I feel like that is a pretty big change because before it was just like if you spotted an opening where no one was around you, you could just try for a
Mhm.
super shot. Whereas here, you kind of have to wait for it to show up, and then you can look for those openings. What do you think about that addition?
I like it because it kind of almost gives it a hockey feel. Like in hockey, when a team gets a penalty and the other team gets to go on the power play where they have an extra man out on the field. That's what it feels like when you have the orb, because it's like when you have the orb, both the offensive and defensive strategies completely change for like the next 30 seconds until the power wears off. It's like defense is no longer trying to score. They're just like stalling, keeping the ball away from you, making sure you don't get alone in a clear space of field, which is different, maybe like going after items or actually trying to swipe the ball away and score. There's this new charge tackle option where you can charge up a meter and then slam into your opponent. But if you miss, your character falls down and then takes a few seconds to get up. I've noticed when I've played opponents online and when I've done it myself, when the team with the ball has the hyper strike orb, you don't really risk those big charge tackles because you don't want to fall down and miss the tackle and then leave them open for the hyper strike. So I think it's cool that it changes the strategy for a little bit. I also like that it has gone back to the original strikers scoring method, where if you get that, it's worth 2 points. There's no goalie mini game. There's a little bit of
Up
that
to like
influence
6
though.
shots.
Yeah, the goalie can mash the A button to fill up this like pushback arrow to deflect the hyper strike. But if you press it too little or too much, the arrow breaks and it's guaranteed to go in. So you have to time it exactly right to get to that full arrow without going under or over. So there's still a little bit of influence from the player as the goalie in those hyper strike situations, which is different than the first one where it was completely up to the goalie. So I do like that that's there.
Yeah. What with the first game, it really depended on how well you hit the the QTE or whatever whatever you would call that,
Uh-huh.
the bumpers of if it would go in or not. And yeah, Striker's charge went a little bit too far with how many goals you could score, but I do appreciate that there's something that you have to do on the goalie's part. Although if you get the perfect shot, there's nothing you can do, and they'll just go in automatically.
hmm Something weird about the Strikers Club mode I want to talk about. Obviously, I haven't been able to play it too much yet, but I was able to test a few matches. They really want you to pair up with teammates and play Strikers Club mode online with other members of your club. It seems like that's how they want you to do it. They want you to hit up your friends and be like, okay, the four of us, let's hop online and play some other clubs. Because when you play alone, you get to take your striker with their gear that you equip them with. So your setup. My main character is Peach because I really like. She has high technique, which is how much curve she has on her shots, which I think is really good for manipulating the goalie AI. It's kind of the best strategy that I've discovered. And then she has really high speed. So high technique, high speed. I started with Peach. I gave her some gear that augments those stats a little bit. But I have other characters that have gear too. But when you play in Strikers Club mode, you only get to be the character you've designated as my striker, right? So Peach in club mode is my striker. So when I go in a match alone, I am Peach. And then for the other 3 slots on my team, it just picks 3 random characters with no gear. I don't even get a pick from the roster of
What?
10. It's like, okay, you're Peach, and this time you're going to be Wario, Yoshi, and Waluigi with no gear. It's like, why is it like that? In one of the matches I got, I was Peach, and then I was Mario, and then I was Wario and Bowser, 2 characters who are very slow, very bad shooters, and have a ton of power. And it's like, if I was building my own team, I would never pick both of them. I would pick one of them. So it's just a really weird choice.
Yeah, that's incredibly limiting. Not only that you can't equip gear, but that you can't even pick the characters.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous. Because
Yeah.
yeah, a lot of the strategy is building your team to try and augment one character's abilities or deficiencies with somebody else. That's
Yeah. So
kind of
that's strange.
ridiculous.
I guess it is really just because they want you to play with your friends in that mode. There is another online mode that's just quick battle that you do get to customize your team fully. And I guess maybe they think there would be maybe the developers, I haven't played enough in multiplayer to know. Maybe the developers have decided playing alone is actually an advantage to playing together. Like if you are playing alone, controlling all 4 people, you have a better chance at winning than 4 people playing. So maybe they're like, okay, so if you're playing alone, you don't get to build your team. And if you're playing with 4 people, you can have the exact team you want. So I could see that being a thing, but I still am not a big fan of the choice.
Yeah, I think I'd rather have the freedom to pick either option. But yeah, it would be a little bit more difficult if you are using a team of 4, playing it all online and trying to like, talk and figure out strategies all online over like a voice call. That is a little bit more difficult than just controlling everything by yourself.
Hmm.
But they shouldn't have to I don't know, they shouldn't have to give you a handicap like that. Or at the very least, I don't know, remove gear or something. If you really want some sort of handicap, not being able to like pick your just straight characters for a team is a little ridiculous.
Yeah, and I'll talk on the gear for just a second here. It's interesting because the gear doesn't actually make your character better or worse. It just makes them different. Like every piece of gear basically does the same thing. It gives 2 points in one category and subtracts 2 points from another category. That's it. So every character starts with, I think, 64 skill points, is what I figured out. And that number never changes. Just which bar is higher and which bar is lower changes on how you want to do your gear. And so basically how it works out is that every character can, to some extent, excel in any stat you want them to. So for example, I have made Mario my main defender tank. I gave him every piece of gear I gave him +2 in strength. So he has like 21 out of 25 in strength now. And I put him at the back of my lineup. So he is just my defender, my tank, which is super cool because Mario is usually like the all-arounder. So to have him just being this heavy who's just like knocking people over is super fun. But I like that. It's basically so it looks really cool for one, is what the gear is for. And then it's for like, okay, I really, really like Donkey Kong, but I want him to be better at shooting and passing than I do it at tackling. And so it's cool in that way that it really just allows you to use who you want and still have kind of the skills you want. There's to what I've noticed so far, you do want one character that has high shot power and high technique power, but other than that, there's no real meta that I have discovered yet on like, oh, you max out on strength and you'll win every time. It seems pretty balanced among all the skills, which is really nice.
I'm sure someone will find something to
Yeah.
to give them an edge, and they'll have
Oh
to
yeah.
they'll have to patch something. But it's nice that it's not just a way to make certain characters super OP or
Hmm.
throw the balance out of whack. It's more so just like changing a character around to be really good in one area at the expense of other areas, which if you're doing a heavily online affair, I think that's the way to go. Like if
Hmm.
it's more single player, then it doesn't really matter if you can just make your characters like super ridiculous. But if
Yeah.
you're talking about multiplayer experiences, you want to keep that balance. That probably does a pretty good job with that.
Yeah, there's also an 8 player mode I really want to try. I haven't been able to get enough people together yet in
So
person to
just four on
play eight.
four.
Yeah, 8 player local
Oh wow.
multiplayer sounds a ton of
That's
fun.
gotta be
Yeah,
insanity.
yeah. So I do really want to try that out with some friends, but I haven't been able to do that yet. But yeah, it's great. I think gameplay wise, it's my favorite strikers. I think that it does play the best. I think that it will hold up in an online environment just because there's so many strategies. I didn't even talk about dodging, which is a big deal. There's like perfect dodges now where you get a really beneficial speed boost if you dodge at the exact right moment, which is really good. There's just a lot of little things that make it really technical, which make it a little hard, I think, for newcomers to just hop in and play. It's not as arcadey as I feel like the original Strikers was.
Hmm.
Where, so for example, I played back when Strikers Battle League was announced. I played the original with my girlfriend who had never played it before, just because I was excited about Strikers coming back. So we booted up the GameCube version, and within 2 or 3 matches, she was passing and shooting and scoring goals pretty well because it's a pretty simple game control wise. Then now she's had experience playing this one or the old one. We jump into the new one, and she's played probably more of this one than she's played the old one, and still doesn't really have a grasp on everything because it's just a lot more complicated. So it's not as pick up and play for everybody as the other one is. It's more like if you invest into actually learning how this works, you can get pretty good at it, which I personally like, but I can see how it would turn some maybe more casual players off.
That makes sense. Yeah, it was a little bit simpler.
Yeah.
And from the hour that I played, yeah, there is a lot of stuff that I mean, I just didn't have time to like fully dive into, and I wanted to make the most out of the time I had to just play matches rather than go through what was seemingly a pretty lengthy tutorial screen with a bunch of
Mhm.
different stuff on it. So
And the
there's
tutorials are good. The tutorials do teach you pretty much everything you need to know. Like they are good tutorials.
I was going to ask, how are are the fields? I've heard that they change up locales, but not necessarily any sort of. There's no like stage hazards like there have been. I think it Charged had more of the stage hazards.
Yeah,
With
there were
like
no stage hazards in the
things
original.
falling
So
on. Yeah, with Charge they had like fireballs coming on to
yeah.
the field on some. There was one that I remember where there was like wind that could blow you off the side on one that was pretty
Oh
wild.
man,
So I
we're gonna
guess it
talk
goes
about
back
wind
to
later.
the original Strikers style.
Yeah, and I like the original Strikers a lot more. I think that's something we talked about on the show. I don't like Charged very much from what I've played of it. I really love the original, and this feels more like that. I don't mind that there's no stage hazards. I didn't even think about it the entire time I played this game, just because that's not something I've usually had in Charged. But the stadiums are pretty good. I do like that each team picks which one they want, and then they slam together, so you have half and half. I think that's just a super cool concept. There's a lot of customization for the field in the Strikers Club mode, but it requires a currency that you can only get through the Strikers Club mode. So I haven't been able to mess around with customizing my fields too much, but it's pretty cool because the club creator gets to decide, gets the final word on like what they want the goal to look like, what they want the grass pattern to look like, what they want the fence to look like. But then everyone else in the club can vote on which they want. So then when the captain is picking, they can see how many votes each one has and then be like, okay, should I go with what the majority wants
Or
just
just
say screw
disregard
it
it.
and pick what I want? So I think that's pretty fun, and it'll be fun to unlock and buy those things as you earn more of that currency in the club mode. But yeah, the fields are fine. It's a good looking game. There are some frame issues. It sometimes does dip if there's too much going on. I've specifically noticed if you have the strike orb, if you're powered up, so there's like these light effects going on, and you use a bunch of items, the frame drops. Like it struggles a little bit when that's going on. But otherwise, it ran pretty well. The character animations are amazing. The strike animations are awesome. Like Rosalina kicks the ball around a planet, and then it orbits back, and then she kicks it again into the goal, and it's just super cool and epic. So yeah, I really like this game, and I'm excited to play with you, Kev. I know that you love Strikers. We played it a little together when over that online play test. So yeah, it should be fun.
Yeah, from the hour that I played, it was a lot of fun. I'll be picking it up tomorrow, and excited to hop into the club mode because that seems to be the meat of the experience
game,
here.
Yeah.
For better
Zach,
or for
you
worse.
played a
I
little
guess
bit
we'll
of the
figure it
game.
out.
I did play a little bit of the game. We played a few quick matches together when you were over here, so I got the chance to try it out. I didn't get to dive, head first into some of the deeper mechanics, like some of the things Logan's mentioning that I had no idea they were mechanics. I basically just tried out the bare bones, but unlike Charged, it felt easier to score points. I remember in Charged it was like impossible to score points, like no matter how hard we tried. But in this one, it felt technically very good from what little I did play. And scoring felt very gratifying. So, it was enjoyable for what little I played, and I'm thinking about picking it up, but I'm not entirely sold yet.
Can try out Logan's copy, maybe.
Yeah.
Come join our club.
Join the club.
Yeah.
Got to get more people.
Yeah. Once that club's up and running, you can get some Ode to Games listeners to hop in and fill out the last 10 spots.
Maybe so. Maybe we can get some
Yeah.
get some people in.
Yeah. I want to fill it up. I want to have 20. Kevin needs some people in Japan in this club because otherwise he's not going to play with
I'm just going to be
other
playing by
people.
myself on
Yeah.
every day except a random weekend that I'm home.
Yeah.
Any Japan listeners? None of them. But yeah, maybe keep an eye on our Twitter at Oda Games. Maybe we'll be posting something there in the next week or two with club stuff.
Club info.
Because I'm sure we'll be playing a lot of that. All right, I'm sure we'll be talking more about Strikers in the next couple of weeks as I get my hands on it and we get more experience with the club mode. But for now, why don't we get into the little bit of news that we have before we get into all of the Sonic stuff? There is this quick news story that I saw that just made me chuckle because I'm surprised that a sequel was actually in development. Apparently, Nintendo was working on a sequel to 1-2 Switch, and they had playtesters try it out, and the testers hated it. Like, apparently, they didn't want to finish the games, which I think it's just funny that they were even going to go back to the well of 1-2 Switch because I don't remember anyone talking about it beyond like the first day that it came out, and then it just kind of like fell off the planet. So I just
Yeah,
thought it was
it's
funny. What'd you guys think?
so the original sold like over 3 million copies, but I think that's a product of it being the only thing that was out besides Zelda at the time. So it's like if you wanted anything casual multiplayer, that was kind of the pick at launch. I dodged the bullet. I never picked up 1-2 Switch.
$50 for that.
Yeah, But everybody's 1-2 Switch, which is apparently the title of this thing, uh, according to the report from Fanbyte, it was going to use like smartphones and have 100 people hop in at a time and kind of observe these games. They were inspired by Jackbox Party Pack, which are great games. I don't know if
Yeah,
you guys have played those. Those games
they're
are
great. Love
really
Jackbox.
fun. But yeah, the playtesters couldn't get through like this bingo round or something like that, where all you did was like waggle to reveal your next number for bingo. And here's the thing that really gets me about this is that Nintendo said they don't want to release this. Some people within Nintendo apparently don't want to release this because they're worried that it would harm Nintendo's reputation as a software developer. How bad does this game have to be? Because they have released mediocre software within the last number of years. The original 1-2 Switch was not loved. I look back at like the Wii U era, Mario Tennis Ultra Smash and Amiibo Festival
Awful.
harmed their status as a software developer. So how bad is this thing for it to not be shown to the public and maybe just get canceled altogether?
Honestly, I think if you read some of the games that were planned to be in there, you can get kind of a glimpse why when you have games like Bingo, musical chairs, and Spin the Bottle.
Yeah.
That
What
sounds
is
so
that?
awful. Oh
Is that
my
like,
God.
I don't know, like a 10-year-old's like sleepover or something?
hmm But apparently, the spin the bottle is if the bottle lands on someone, you have to give them a compliment. Is what I saw.
How does,
Not
Oh,
how does
good.
the game know? Are you supposed to like say it and then the game's
Spin the
like, I
Joy-Con.
assumed you didn't like destroy them right there or
yeah.
something? Doesn't have a microphone or anything. Yeah, I don't know. I'm surprised they were going to go back to that well, and I'm even more surprised that they were going to do it with that suite of games. And seeing those games,
Mhm.
I wouldn't want to play Bingo if it's just straight up Bingo with Waggle. I don't blame blame them for not wanting to finish that game.
Yeah.
Please, ugh, God, you know they'd release that for like near full price, another $50 experience.
If they're worried about it, just chuck it in that extra tier of Switch Online.
Yeah.
Just throw it in there. That's what it's for.
I think they would have to provide a discount to the expansion pack of Switch Online to get that in there.
Yeah.
That would lower the value of Switch Online. Anyways,
try it.
I thought that was funny. Another funny thing. Let's get into some Sonic talk here.
Woo.
So Sonic Central had a little showcase, like a 10-minute show. First, they pronounced Mephiles wrong.
Yeah. What'd they say?
Mephiles?
Mephiles. Oh my
which was
goodness.
hilarious.
Uh-huh.
So that was part of a mobile game. I think there was just some like
Yeah,
new
the
characters for
the
that.
Sonic Forces mobile game, I think.
Which Mephiles is a really bizarre pick for that. I'm surprised
Dude.
they want to go back to Sonic 06 at all.
The roster in that thing is insane. They have like the characters like from Sonic and the Black Knight are in that thing. Like Blaze dressed up as like one of the Knights of the Round Table is the newest DLC character coming to that thing. It's like what? It's just everything is in that game. But it's an endless runner, so I don't care.
Yeah, so Mephiles showed up in that. And then some of the other stuff they decided to show off, specifically the two. They have Sonic Prime, and then for Sonic Frontiers, they're doing a little a little animated thing, just something on YouTube, I think, that they're going to have as like a prequel to Sonic Frontiers. So Sonic Prime was like 10 seconds of Shadow running, and then it was him at the end, and that was it. And they're like, we'll show off more. What was the point of that? What was the point of that?
Yeah, just to tease it, I guess. Right now, we've got this Netflix event going on, the Geek Tweak. And there's still, as we're recording, there's still a couple days left in that. And Sonic Prime is going to be a Netflix show. So I would bet that we're going to see that before the week is over. But for it to not be like, just don't even tease it in this. Like, it was totally useless. But Shadow's in the show. I'm excited for that show. I am going to watch it.
Yeah, I mean, they've done pretty well with animated shows in the past, so I have hopes for it. But this was not the way to show it off.
Yeah.
And then the Sonic Frontiers thing was even worse. That was just Knuckles standing on a temple in the rain for like 5 or 10 seconds.
He was in front of the Master Emerald. They were teasing Angel Island on the Master Emerald, but still, it was like less than a second.
Yeah.
Just baffling.
Do you guys see the memes that were like, it was like, and this was the Sonic Central, and it would edit the clip, and it was like, now here's a look at Sonic Prime, and then it showed like less than like it showed like a millisecond of shadow, and it was like, we hoped you enjoyed that look at Sonic Prime.
That was such a good video. I also liked how at the beginning of that there's like a noise, and it's just like boom, and then it just ends.
Yeah.
But if you watch that, you got basically the same experience as if you watched the full video, because that's really all you got from it was like, oh, Shadow's here. Okay, cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the Sonic costumes are coming back to Fall Guys.
Yeah, Tails for the first time.
Even though they couldn't show them off because
they didn't show it at all. They just announced it, which I thought was really weird.
It's like Sonic, Knuckles, and Tails, and then the video just kept going, featuring only Sonic and Knuckles.
Yeah, they tried to pretend like they had never existed in Fall Guys, and it's like Sonic's been in Fall Guys for like a year and a half, and they're just like, oh, and Sonic's coming. Like, yeah, I know they're kind of hitting the reset button on Fall Guys, but I thought that was funny.
I mean, for the people that didn't get the chance to get those, because they were limited time things, right?
They came back to the store, but the store randomized what would show up.
Yeah.
So if you hadn't got it when it was originally out, you could constantly check your store to see if it showed up, which is what I had to do. But
yeah.
And Tails is brand new.
Tails is new.
Which is why they couldn't show them off in there.
Yeah.
Anyways, yeah, Sonic Central. Those were some of the main highlights. There was some more Sonic Frontiers stuff, which if I'm being honest, that was probably the way they should have shown it off at the start. Having like an actual trailer, and then we'll be talking a little bit more about Sonic Frontiers here in a second. But maybe that would have been a better look to have like a more curated trailer like they had here, and then show off some of the IGN footage where we're exploring around in the world. But they did not do that.
Yeah.
What'd you guys think?
Yeah, I don't know why this Sonic Central was when it was. It's super weird. Like, why wasn't this at the start of the month, and why wasn't this the announcement of like all month long you're gonna get Sonic Frontier stuff at IGN? Instead it was like we're 7 days into this thing and they're like, IGN first. It's like everybody in the world watching this already knows that that's a thing. Like, this is a nothing announcement. I thought the whole presentation was really bizarre.
Zach, what were your thoughts on this fantastic
Well, I had to catch. I was working at the time, so I couldn't even watch it live. I had to piecemeal it together, and it was just not even worth it at the end.
I mean, it was all piecemeal to begin with.
I know.
So
yeah,
you kind of just like pick up the pieces here and there. But yeah, it would have made a lot more sense if they showed it off before doing the IGN stuff, because then the Sonic Frontiers thing would have been a much bigger deal, because that would have been the first time that we're seeing any gameplay. And then they can be at the end, okay, go to IGN, and then they're going to have more in-depth like gameplay of the world, like uninterrupted gameplay, whereas here we have this more curated trailer. But they didn't do that, so it made the Sonic Frontier stuff at the end also feel like nothing, because we had already seen all of that in like a more extended form of the gameplay stuff. Yeah, it was weird. There was really nothing of substance there beyond them saying Mephiles' name wrong and some other very bizarre things.
Hey, I'm excited about the Symphony. I hope it comes near me, because I would go to that.
That would be cool in theaters. But yeah, not a whole lot there. Anyways, let's continue the Sonic talk with Rumor Roundup for the week, right?
Rumor Roundup. I
what
love
is
Rumor
the
Roundup.
rumor this week?
The rumor is that the first hands-on preview for Sonic Frontiers went up live at IGN, and
Big
once
rumor.
Again, I feel
have we confirmed if that's true?
I feel once again that the order of operations here was just all out of whack, because we were all nervous about the initial gameplay reveal. that was posted on IGN, but this article has restored a lot of my excitement for the game. So this is coming from Mitchell Saltzman, who I know. He's a huge 3D Sonic fan. He's played them all just like we have, so he knows what he's talking about here. And this preview sounds pretty good, and there's really it's all kind of summed up in this thread that he put out on Twitter that I'm just going to read real quick because it kind of sums it all up in just a few words. So he emphasizes that there are linear stages back in the game from classic 3D Sonic games, which is one of my biggest wants for this game, was that there's actually going to be these stages that you can kind of unlock in the open world and then go do in normal Sonic fashion. So in the article, it says Sonic must hunt down and defeat bosses in order to collect portal gears, which open up portals that lead to bite-sized linear stages done in the style of previous Sonic games, giving Sonic Frontiers a nice mix of both old and new styles. These classic levels each come with a handful of optional goals, like beating the level under a certain time, collecting all the red rings, and so on, with each goal rewarding you with a vault key, which are needed to unlock the coveted Chaos Emeralds. So, very excited about that. The traditional levels are back. He continues by saying, Sonic Frontiers isn't just open zone Sonic, it's a mix of what feels like very experimental open world 3D high-speed action game and the traditional linear 3D Sonic levels. The flow of the game is basically explore the open world, solve puzzles to open up the map, puzzles, find collectibles to improve stats, fight world bosses to earn portal gears, use gears to unlock linear levels, complete levels to unlock Chaos Emeralds. From what I've played so far, it's a very solid gameplay loop. There's obviously a lot of work to be done, as I talk about in the preview, but I think structure-wise, Sonic Team has something with Frontiers. So yeah, basically his main concern is that technically it's not there yet. A lot of pop-in and frame drops and things like that. But what do you guys think of this gameplay loop that he's describing? Because to me, it sounds more of like what I've been saying I wanted this game to be.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm very happy that the traditional level aspect is something that they're keeping. From what it seemed in the open world, that it was just so chock full of stuff that didn't really feel like anything Sonic has done before. It was just a bunch of floating rails in a world that didn't seem super built for Sonic. So we definitely, want something that makes it feel like a Sonic game. So going back to these traditional levels, I like a lot, and keeping with the Master Emerald theme that it showed off with Knuckles and getting the Chaos Emeralds, I think that's good. Also harkens back to older Sonic games. So this does renew my faith a little bit, because yeah, those original gameplay clips had got me pretty shaking my faith quite a bit.
But I mean that gameplay is still there. So
yes,
it's not like, for me, all of the concern has disappeared or anything like that. I'm very excited that there are going to be more traditional Sonic levels. And I think that when we look back on Forces and how short that runtime is, and then you look back at something like Unleashed, where they tried to increase the runtime with the Werehog stages, and that didn't work really well. I think that this, in a perfect world, could do that, where you have the shorter Sonic levels and then some more time added in the open world of just exploring, messing around with the mechanics and the physics, solving puzzles and doing all of that. I think could work to extend that out without being really ridiculous like it was in previous Sonic games, and also provide something that's longer than Sonic Forces. But that open world is still there, and the open world still it doesn't excite me very much. You have a lot of these floating areas, and I don't know, it doesn't look like there's a whole lot of complexity to a lot of this stuff. We already talked about the puzzles, where the puzzles are bare bones, stupid easy. But looking at some of the other stuff where it's like, oh, jump on this rail, and then you jump on this other rail, and then you get to this platform, and then there's an item on this platform.
Mm-hmm.
Like, is that it? It still seems very simple.
So in the article on IGN, the actual full preview, he talks about this mechanic that I wish they'd shown in the gameplay. I don't know for sure. I am like 90% confident the gameplay we've seen was provided by Sega, not captured by Mitchell in his hands-on time with the game. I think Sega chose what gameplay to provide, and I think they chose a very poor look at what the game looks like. I think they wanted to showcase the beauty of the world with like sweeping camera shots. So they just had Sonic walking around for a lot of it. I think this game is going to be faster and have more interesting things than what it sounds like. For example, one of the things that Mitchell wrote is in there is that there is a little puzzle that you go to that you kick off, and then a timer flips over, and you have until the timer runs out to get from point A to point B. That's just across the open world. And it's like there's not just a clear path to get there. You have to figure out your own path to get there. And it sounds exactly like the puzzles that exist in Forza that I was talking about wanting to be in this game. So that is something that is super encouraging to me. And it's like, why wasn't something like that included in the footage that Sega chose to lead with? Like, that sounds really cool. Like, you got to get here, but there's not a clear path. So you can use these rails, you can use these bumpers, you can cut through these trees. Like, there's multiple ways to get there, but you just have to get there before time runs out. That is super cool. And that's what I want from open world Sonic. So to know that's in there is really good. Why wasn't it shown? I don't know. And then the combat also sounds better in written form than it did from what we saw. It sounds more in depth than what it looked like. Once again, I think they made a mistake. Zach mentioned it last week, showing the same fight back-to-back times made no sense in the footage. But there's a skill tree that we know of, and he said that some of the skills we haven't seen are very cool. So I don't know. I am still hesitant because like the stupid turn a statue puzzle is just that is just throw that out of there. No one needs that ever. But some of the stuff in here sounds better. So I am looking forward to it. I am still with you. I'm a little bit cautious, Kevin. You have to be before a Sonic game comes out. But I was starting to feel like this was worst case scenario for what this game was going to be. But this article has turned me around, and I think it's going to be good. I think it's going to be good, not great, not amazing, but it sounds like it'll be an enjoyable time, an interesting experiment for 3D Sonic.
I think the one thing we can agree on is that the rollout of the content of the gameplay that they've shown off has been incredibly questionable.
Yeah, it's been terrible.
Like, again, why did they decide that gameplay? Why did they decide not to have a curated trailer at the start? It's really bizarre. I don't know what the game plan was there. I don't know what they thought was going to happen, because they were also saying, oh, this is like an earlier build of the game. But if you're showing it off, I don't know if that really excuses it, especially when the game's less than half a year away. If we're talking about, oh, this is an early build of the game and it's coming out in a year plus, like, okay, like we're going to be getting somewhere later on. But when you're talking about 6 months from launch and that's what you decide to show, it's just baffling the way they decided to roll this thing out.
Yeah. I just want to say, we have to look back at some of these rumors, but a lot of them are starting to be true. A lot of the ones that we read, I think, were legit, because we had some stuff about how this was going to be a game where you fight bosses to unlock traditional Sonic levels. That was something that we heard before in our rumor roundup. On Amy being dead, unsure if that's true, because here's from the preview. The first thing that struck me about Sonic Frontiers was how uniquely somber and serene it was from the outset. After flying into a wormhole with Tails and Amy, Sonic finds himself separated from his friends and all alone on an isolated island, with nothing but an AI voice guiding him to collect the Chaos Emeralds. A mysterious
Amy was
female
supposed
voice.
To be
yeah, she was
like
supposed
dead
to be the voice.
and like talking. Yeah.
Yeah. So we kind of heard this. I guess Amy still could be dead. We don't know.
Okay.
Separated
from
Amy.
life.
From
Yeah,
life.
she was separated from the living world.
Yeah, but some of this stuff is turning out to be real.
I mean, that'll be a lot of fun. When the game comes out and we play it, we can look back at all of the rumors that we covered, and we can see which ones are true and which ones weren't, and which ones were just news, like this one. But yeah, I am curious, looking back on some of the rumors that we've covered, which ones are true and how close to like full on true were they?
Yeah, but that's it for Rumor Roundup this week. But man, I'm getting excited. Last week, it's been a roller coaster week for Sonic fans. I think that a lot of people are excited about this hands-on preview, and you can count me as one of them. I think it's sounding a lot more promising than it was.
And we've still got another couple of weeks for more stuff to be rolling out from IGN on that. So
yeah,
hopefully it'll be getting better and not worse. Hopefully they're going to showcase a lot more of the stuff that sounds really interesting, like races or the different combat mechanics and skill trees and stuff. Because that stuff
Or
sounds
let's
really
see a
interesting.
level. Let's see a traditional
Yeah.
level. I want to see what that looks like.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll see some of that this month. If not, that'd be really, really baffling.
Yeah.
All right, let's continue the Sonic talk. This is something that I've wanted to do for a little while. Our ode to this week is ranking almost all of the 3D Sonic games based on their most bogus level. And if you've played any 3D Sonic games, you know there is a significant amount of bogus in most of these games. A quick caveat, we have not played Sonic Unleashed on Wii, and we haven't played Sonic Boom. So those two are MIA, but the rest of them are here and accounted for. So maybe we'll do an updated list when we get to Boom. And
what about Minecraft Sonic?
Oh my god, the whole
that
thing.
Whole game.
Oh my god,
that whole game
that
is bogus.
Oh my goodness,
the bogus incarnate. All right, so there's 12 games on here. Let's start it off with number 12. This game didn't really have a lot of bogus. Didn't really have anything. Really,
not a lot of game.
Kind of just came and went. That was Sonic Forces, a 2-hour runtime on that. So we went with Null Space. That I think Null Space kind of encapsulates Sonic Forces, where it's just, oh no, we're in Null Space. Mash the button. All right, we're out in 10 seconds. That I think that perfectly encapsulates Sonic Forces.
I don't know how that 10 seconds was the most memorable part of the game, but it was, which is crazy to me.
I think it's just because nothing else was memorable at all.
Yeah.
Like
I would agree.
there was nothing in that. Which, when we played it, after playing a bunch of the other 3D Sonic games, in a weird way, it was kind of refreshing because some of those Sonic levels that we're going to be getting to in a little bit are ridiculous and are super stupid. So in one way, it was quite nice to not have to deal with any of that. On the other hand, looking back on it a couple of years later, you don't really remember much of anything of it.
Yeah, so Null Space was one part of the game that was spoiled for me because that entire Sonic Forces all leaked pretty early. And people were uploading YouTube videos of all the levels. And this is back when I still thought this was going to be a full-length, good Sonic experience. And so I was just like on YouTube one day, and there was a thumbnail that said Sonic Forces Null Space. And I was like, whoa, what does that mean? What is that? And so the entire game, I'm like, when am I going to get to Null Space? And I finally get there. I'm like, whoa, we're finally here. And then I was like, what? That's it? It's like 5 seconds. You don't even have to mash the button. Like, even if you don't mash the button,
it'll go anyways. I forgot about that.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. There's no weight to anything in Sonic Forces. Oh my god, we're in Null Space. Okay, we're out. Oh my god, Sonic's captured. Okay, he's fine. Oh my god, all the enemies are back. Oh, just kidding. They're mirages. It is just a joke of a game. All right, we've talked about Forces so many times on this show.
We have.
So Sonic Forces rounds out the bottom of the list at number 12 for Null Space. And we are back. If things look a little different, if lighting looks a little different, if people are wearing different clothes, we had some technical difficulties partway through recording. Logan's power went out, so we're picking this up a little later.
It did. I heard this very loud thud, and then my entire block's power was out for like 2.5 hours. And I went down to a coffee shop where they did have power a couple blocks down the street. And this other guy comes in who lives like a block away from me. He's like, yeah, we just heard this big boom. And I'm like, man, if he heard it where he's at and I heard it where I'm at, some transformer went kaput somewhere. But we're back up and running now.
All right, why don't we get back into the list? We finished off number 12. That was Sonic Forces. So let's jump into number 11. This is ranking the Sonic games based on their most bogus level. And for Sonic Colors at number 11, we've got Terminal Velocity. Logan, you put this one on there.
This is right where you threw to me, and then I disappeared, I think, in our previous recording. And Terminal Velocity is not a bogus level. It's the final level of Sonic Colors, and you know those parts of Sonic 3D Sonic games in Unleashed Generation and Colors specifically, where you're just running down this straight line, and then there's like the 3 robots that fire their laser at you, and you just dodge back and forth. terminal velocity is just 3.5 minutes of literally that and nothing else. And it's just a super boring level, especially for the finale. It's better than some other finales on this list for being short and sweet, but for being the final level, it just really goes out with kind of a whimper. It's just a lame level.
Yeah, there's some
Colors isn't that bogus.
But
Colors is
no. I mean, it's not the best Sonic game. It's got its own problems, but when we get to some of the later games on this list, those are true bogus, just nonsense levels. Here, it's like there's nothing offensive, but sometimes it's not very memorable.
Yeah.
Which is the case for, I think, the next two as well. So at number 10, we have Sonic and the Black Knight. Now, with Sonic and the Black Knight, you can kind of skip a lot of the levels. Man, that runtime was not very long. You can just kind of blast through. You do. Don't you have to like look up the levels that you need to get through? Was that Secret Rings?
Secret Rings.
Okay.
Yeah.
So for Black Knight, you can skip a lot of these levels, and none of them are egregiously bad, which is, to be honest, kind of impressive after Sonic and the Secret Rings, because it kind of shares the same gameplay styles as that with the motion controls and the auto runner. So we put on here just the boss fights, specifically the boss fights where you're fighting the other Sonic's friends, Knuckles or Blaze was one of the other ones.
Yep.
Knuckles,
Yeah.
Blaze.
Silver?
Was there another one? Silver? And they're all Knights of the Round Table. And we found out that you can just waggle the Wii remote and you will win in maybe 5 seconds. They're the stupidest boss fights I think I've ever done in any Sonic game. They're very entertaining.
Maybe in any game.
In any game, yeah, that's true.
I think I recall from our playthrough that Kevin did all 3 of these boss fights.
I think so.
I don't think we did any of them.
I don't think it mattered. They were so short. But it was so funny, though. I think I was like dying laughing every time.
Yeah.
I don't think any of those took under 10 seconds. It was incredible. Not a great game for Sonic and the Black Knight, but not a whole lot of bogus in the levels. So you got to take what you can get.
I think that game's fine.
Yeah,
like for a Sonic game, it's not offensive. I don't think that's an offensive game.
No, it's okay. Not very memorable though.
No.
Number 9, we have Sonic Adventure with Lost World, not to be confused with Sonic Lost World, which is a later Sonic game. This is the one with the snake, right, Logan?
It is, yeah. You're in the pyramid. You're inside the pyramid in like the flashback land that you always see with Knuckles and the other echidna, whose name is escaping me right now. Anyone remember who I'm talking about?
The
T. Starts with a T. I don't remember.
Tika?
What?
Tika?
Something like that.
T-I-K-A?
I'll roll with that. Yeah, but there's this giant snake in the pit of the pyramid, and he's super annoying. And I seem to remember there's a scavenger level in like the Knuckles path too that is just super obnoxious inside of this thing. So I still think Sonic Adventure is actually pretty good. So I still don't think we're to the super bogus part of this list yet.
I do remember that the snake's physics, when you were standing on it, could get a little wonk of like trying to get on there and get off, and it was a little weird, and it would go underwater too. So it was like, oh, but it wasn't too bad. It was all right.
Yeah.
Number 8, we've got Shadow the Hedgehog. Shadow the Hedgehog is another game where you can skip a lot of the levels if you're just going from start to finish one time. You don't want to see the good and bad paths or the neutral paths. You can just play through once and then be done with it, which is what we did because we didn't want to spend any more time with that game. So we didn't end up actually playing this level, which is Lost Impact. But Logan, you put this one on the list.
I did, yeah. So Shadow the Hedgehog, a lot of its bogus comes from those alternate paths because that's where the alternate objectives come in. So it's kind of like, you remember in Sonic Heroes, the Chaotix are the team that have like kill all 50 aliens, light all 100 torches. Oh. Nice shirt, Zach.
Thank you.
You're onto the video version, Zach's Team Chaotix shirt.
He's got a nice hat too.
Some of the alternate paths in Shadow are like that, where you have to do these alternate things. And eventually that will lead you to Lost Impact, which is a labyrinth level where you have to like find the right room to progress and like do the right thing in that room to open like a secret door. But the room, it's like very beige and all the rooms look exactly the same. And it's like this grid. And so it's just you're in square room after square room and you can run around that thing forever. And even on like a normal playthrough, like if you do everything right, the level takes like 8 minutes. So if you don't do everything right, you're in there forever. you're in
Oh,
there
God.
for a long time. So yeah, but the main path of Shadow is just get to the goal. So it's actually pretty fun to just blast through and get to the end.
And nice to have that option, even if the story is nothing. Although the
That
story is
game
nothing
was
depending
a-
on which way you go, I think.
Yeah, that game was a palate cleanser after 06 for us. I'm pretty sure that was the second game we played.
Sounds about right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was quite short in comparison since you're only doing
Mhm.
one run through.
Like 7 levels, I think. Yeah. Yeah.
We don't need to spend our time with levels like Lost Impact. We can avoid those. All right, we're starting to get down to the meat of this list. Number 7. This is a great game, Sonic Generations, and maybe the weakest link of that game, the one weak link, would be Planet Wisp. And we were tempted to put Planet Wisp for Sonic Colors as well, but we already have Planet Wisp once. We didn't really want to put it on it again, but Logan, why'd we put Planet Wisp on for Sonic Generations?
God, that level's like 15 minutes. That level is so long because it's the one where you have to use the rocket wisp and blast through like the industrial section. I really like the aesthetic of Planet Wisp. It's a gorgeous level with like really nice green fields and then these orange construction girders that are all over it. It's like that Odyssey level that Kevin and I really like in Super Mario Odyssey. Like
Steam
very
Gardens.
similar.
I think I remember the name. Something like
Oh,
that.
nice. Very similar to that. But yeah, the puzzles with the wisps, most of it is 2D, which does not work very well in the 3D Sonic games. So yeah, and it only comes in at number 7, still not super bogus, and that's the only level in that game I don't like. That's the only one. There's 9 main levels. That's the only one that's not good. So Sonic Generations is it the only like great or above game on this
actually
list?
Good game?
I would say yes.
Honestly, I think so. Some of these games have some fun levels, and it's not a fun experience from start to finish.
I would argue that Sonic Adventure is still a good game. I think that game is still actually really good.
Sure.
Especially because you only have to do the Sonic playthrough. It's not like Sonic Adventure 2 where you're bouncing back and forth. It's like if you just want to sit down and play the Sonic game, you can. And it's not bad. Yeah, I mean, it's old, so it shows its age a little bit. But honestly, playing Mario 64 and playing Sonic Adventure, I think Sonic Adventure is easier to play in 2022 than Super Mario 64.
Especially if you got Joy-Con drift.
Yeah. Oh my God.
All right, let's start to get into the meat of this. We're into the top half of the list. This is where it starts to get fun. Sonic Lost World, not to be confused with the level. This is the game, Sonic Lost World. So we've got a couple of these. An honorable mention to the levels where you have to play as a snowball. I think, Logan, you got stuck with some of these.
Oh my God, those are horrible. They're actually worse than the 3DS version, which is why I just threw them on here. You guys haven't played that, but Sonic Lost World 3DS is the most bogus Sonic game there is, and that is saying something, but they're bad in the Wii U version too.
So for our actual level, we picked Lava Mountain Zone 2, which, if you haven't played the game, this is later on, and it gives you these rails to grind on. And the jumps that it has you do in succession, you need to be perfect on these jumps or else you die. It is brutal, the timing of some of these, and it never ends. That's a whole level, is just jumping on these rails over and over, hopping between, like there's circular rails and you have to like time it right to get to the next one.
Isn't that like gates that are like closing and you have to like be on the
and
right
they're like
have been at
and
the
you
end.
have to go
Yeah.
right in the middle.
Yeah.
It's vertical sometimes.
It was brutal. And that game, we had to grind so many times for lives on this beehive level to make
I like that level.
To make those levels more possible, because if you don't grind on that, if you don't grind on the beehive level and you get to some of these later stages like Lava Mountain Zone 2, you're going to be getting so many game overs because you have to be perfect. The amount of practice on these levels to make sure that you can get the rail jumps right. It sucked. I hated that level a lot. But at least I didn't have to play the 3DS version.
What do you remember about Lost World, Zach?
Worst meal.
That was from the beehive level.
From the beehive. I remember grinding on the beehive level.
Because he would say that line right as you died to go back and grind again, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
God, I remember what all the group of enemies looked like. I don't remember any of their names.
Zavik? You don't remember Zavik?
Zavik, yeah, the big red one. There's like a lady. There's like
I don't remember any of the other ones. Zavik's the only one.
It
There's like a really emo one. There's like a really crazy Waluigi style purple one. There's the big one who likes food. There's the green girl. There's Zavik. I can't remember the other ones. There's only
Wasn't
one
there
more.
an
It's
old
the
man?
Deadly Six.
The old dude? Wasn't there an old dude?
I feel like there was an old guy.
That game
gotta-
is
we
not
gotta fact
particularly
check.
Yeah, I'm looking up the Deadly
memorable.
Six.
Yeah.
Beyond.
I was thinking
That's
about that. It's been so long since we played these games now. Like, it has been a while since we've
Several
played some of
years.
this garbage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, it has.
with Lost Worlds, the rail levels, the level where we had to grind, those are basically the only levels that I really
They stood
remember
out.
all that much. Everything else
You're
kind of
right.
just blends
It's
together.
this older blue dude with like the mustache
Yeah.
coming out of his nose. There he is.
Yep,
How
that's the
vague-
guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. That game's
Great
not
game.
great.
No.
Oh, but Sonic Colors, I think you could also argue is a good game. I think those are the three that you could argue are good games.
Colors, Adventure, and
Generations.
Generations.
With Generations being the only great
yeah.
game.
The other ones are
those,
good enough.
Those are good. Yeah, they're fine.
They're enjoyable enough.
Uh-huh.
All right, number 5, we've got Sonic and the Secret Rings with Levitated Ruin. Zach, I think you had this one.
I did have this one. So this is one of the levels on this list that I played, and I remember particularly hating it because of the physics of the wind that pushes you back as you run. It really messes with the flow of the level and how Sonic is progressing forward. It just pushes you off, and you're on like these floating castle pieces of ruin and stuff like that, and you're like going from piece to piece, and the wind is just constant, and it's so annoying. And I hated it. I don't even remember how long it took. I don't remember much else about the level. I just remember hating the wind with a passion, and that whole game sucked. So a standout battle in that game is saying something.
You're gonna lose.
That's what I was going to bring that up. The final boss fight, which I was doing, where I had to waggle the hardest I've ever had to before, as your assistant says, "You're gonna lose."
It's just so messed up.
It is horrible.
Yeah, with Levitated Ruin, it didn't help that the controls of that game are they're not good.
They're
Endless
motion
runner. You
controls,
really
yeah.
don't have good control over Sonic, tilting it left and right to move him left and right with the Wii remote, and then you can stop him, right? And that's it.
Mhm.
Like I think that's it.
And jump.
So
And,
I
like,
mean,
yeah, that's it.
having to deal with those controls and then the wind of like hopping between these different platforms, I remember was a real trial.
No such thing as an arrow.
Through
Great
Who
song.
Dream? Though Who Dream?
Though Who Dream.
Oh, Who Dream?
Yeah, look
yes.
at the lyrics for that song. They
Seven
make no
Rings in
sense.
Hand.
7 Rings in Hand.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Also, I don't know why they decided to make that play for like half of the game. You had that as the
Every
opening
loading screen,
and then
Mhm.
for the loading screens, and then when you finish a level or something.
Every time you finish the level, yeah.
Yeah, it plays
You cross the
again.
goal, it's like, make believe remote! Every time.
It's literally like the only song.
I hate that game. It is
Sonic
the
and the
worst
Secret
Sonic
Rings.
game. It is
Yeah.
the worst one.
I would agree.
We've got
It is
more
worse
bogus
than those
levels,
things.
but Sonic and the Secret Rings is by far the least enjoyable. Like,
It's the most bogus game because there were choices when you think of Sonic and the Secret Rings. The whole game, like you mentioned it earlier, Kevin, it doesn't tell you which levels you have to do to beat the game. We had to look up a guide to know which levels that we needed to actually complete to get to the end because it doesn't tell you. They're like really random. It's like deliver the 3 dinosaur eggs. That is one of the ones. It's like, why do we have to do that one? It's so ridiculous.
how does that progress the story? I delivered the eggs. Now I can fight the genie or whatever. Didn't that also have like a party game attached to it that was really bad?
It had like 20 like Mario Party style mini games that are just awful.
So Sonic
'Cause
and
we
the
did-
Secret Rings has 2 awful games packed in.
Because
is quite
one of the
impressive.
last Sonic clubs we did before Generations, which was the big finale, was we did the multiplayer mode of every single Sonic game. And, oh boy, there's some garbage in there.
Yeah. Sonic and the Secret Rings, awful game. Speaking of awful games, we've got Sonic 06 with Kingdom Valley. Now, Sonic 06, it does have a lot of bogus. You could go with any of the Mach Speed sections just because those are so unforgiving. The little jump you could do to the side, it's just like, well, it's over. You're dead. Like there are a lot of those, and Kingdom Valley features one of those as well, with some of the sweatiest palm moments, I think, in our playthrough of that game. Logan, you had the mock speed section. Like the regular
Yeah.
Kingdom Valley sucked too. I remember getting like I vaguely remember, I think it was Rouge or something, just flying around in that level and having no idea where to go and just like flying around trying to find whatever we needed to find to get through there. So I mean, the main part of that sucked, but the main thing I remember is the mock speed section at the end.
This level is so long, and I was playing the Sonic version, and we get to the end of it, and we are down to the last life. I go into this thing with one chance to do it, or we have to replay the entirety of Kingdom Valley, and I did it. And there's like these pillars of this falling building that just fly at you that you have no chance of seeing beforehand. Oh my god. When I made it to the end, that was the most relieving moment in all of Sonic Club history for me, I think. So insane. But yeah, that level's just too long, and then it ends with this section that's dang near impossible, and then you have to redo the entire thing if you lose, which you're gonna lose.
Except we didn't. We got lucky on that. Yeah, and the other characters who have to go through there as well, their levels aren't fun either.
Section's like 35 minutes.
Basically, any level with Silver really does suck having to use his physics. But yeah, Kingdom Valley, a mess having to get through that level and then getting subjected to a mock speed section at the end. Sonic 06, but it's not number 1 on this list. It sits at number 4. Number 3, I'm honestly tempted to put this one at number 1 because the entire second half of this game is bogus. The first half is great. Honestly, it is super fun. And then you get to the second half and it just shifts to an absolute nightmare. And that's Sonic Heroes. So
and it happens 4 times because you play all 4 teams, and for the first 3 levels every time, like, oh yeah, this is awesome, and then you get to the level 4, and it's like, oh my god.
So some honorable mentions. The main honorable mention, Rail Canyon, is a terrifying level because the game does not do a very good job of getting you to the next rail. So you're going to be doing jumps off of a certain rail section. And you have to pray that the game decides to throw you a bone and put you on the next rail. It will dump you off on the side, and then you have to like move your character back to hit the rail. And sometimes you look like you're going on the rail and you just blast right past it and die.
That's where Spirits Unite came from. That's what Espio says when he's getting ready to hop on the rail, but there's a Spirits Unite and he just plummets to his death.
It's the funniest thing.
Every time we go off, it just be Spirits Unite because it's like the spirits will decide if I land on the next rail or if I'm dead. There were times because you would have to, there'd be like 3 or 4 rails right next to each other, and you would have to hop between the rails. This wasn't even like a big jump off to get to the next one. It was literally just like hopping right to your right or left to get onto the next rail. And sometimes you just like leap off and die. And it was like, what did I do? It just killed me. Rail Canyon is awful. Shout out to Final Fortress 2. Really long level. That thing sucks with some of the enemies you have to fight.
Oh,
the main
my
one.
God.
What?
That level's just horrible.
Final Fortress.
Yeah.
Those levels get so stressful. I remember dying on the cannon at the end so many times before realizing that you had to like hold down on, I don't even know, like the jump. Like they would like hop to the other side, like do a little trick on the rail, and you'd have to like hold that to get up speed. I died on that so many times because I didn't know what to do. I was like, this is straight up impossible.
It's like this 14-minute level. You get to the end, and it's just like outrunning this laser beam on the rail. And then remember, you have to do like you have to launch yourself from the rail to the final platform.
You have to go so fast.
We whipped it once. Oh my god, these games are so bad.
So yeah,
that's not even the worst level. We haven't talked about the worst level.
Sonic Heroes, you could pick. Honestly, you could pick any level from the second half of that game, and it's not the wrong answer. So many of those are awful. But for our pick, we went with Mystic Mansion, and Zach got stuck with this one. And
can't believe I got stuck with this level.
It was incredible.
This level's not that bad as a whole, but there is this one part at the end where you have to jump and latch onto
Homing
three
attack
homing attack onto 3 floating ghosts in a path. So you have to go from ghost to ghost to ghost to the other platform, and it's at the very end of the level.
This level's what,
And
like
for
12 minutes or something?
It's long.
Yeah, it's something crazy like that. And for some unknown reason, the final ghost, I just could never, ever get Sonic to home on to the final
He would
ghost.
disappear.
So and Sonic would just fall to his death, and then I would run out of lives and have to redo the whole level over and over and over just to mess up this one seemingly super simple jump. And I don't know if it was just me or if there was just something in the universe that didn't want me to do it, but it was impossible. And then the first time I get it, you teleport into an area with a absolutely massive robot standing on an unbelievably tiny platform. And you guys were just like, okay, we did it. Don't blow this. I jump into him and I die immediately. I'm back behind the pumpkins. And then and then it takes me, and that was before the session where I just tried for an hour and didn't get it. We only had an hour. We wanted to do one quick Sonic Club. We were just like, you just got to get through it. And I couldn't do it.
Also, remember your collapse on the forest level? That's not even that hard.
I don't even want to talk about the forest
That
level.
was funny. Well, what do we have to do for that little platform? You had to use the team attack,
The Z
right?
move.
But you had to be. There were times when you would use the Z move, but you were too far away and it wouldn't do anything.
Yes.
And then you just wasted the Z move.
Yeah.
Oh,
I don't think I'm the same person that I was before playing that level.
Oh,
I think it may have broke a
frustrating.
piece of me that has never been recovered.
No.
Sonic Heroes has some of the best moments of any of the games that we played. If you had to rank these levels based on like just the greatest amount of Bogus, I think Sonic Heroes would be right at the top, if not at the top, because the second half of the game is so bad and you have to play it so many times for all of the teams.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I was Team Chaotix for the Mystic Mansion in Sonic Heroes, and that's the one where it's like light all 100 torches.
Yeah.
And I was down to my last life, but I did it without a game over. It was a nerve-wracking because that was so long. The Chaotix levels in that game are awful. They are so bad.
Shout out to Chaotix.
Yeah.
And Sonic Heroes for some reason is still Zach's favorite game, even though it
Such a good
broke
first half.
him.
I never got past the first half as a kid. That's the thing.
But yeah, I'll stand by if you play just the first half of the levels for most of the teams, it's quite fun. It's a good time. Just do not play any of the second half levels because they are awful.
Honestly,
Yeah.
I feel like it's more like first third is more accurate. I
First
think
third.
it turns to trash sooner than that.
Because what you had the green
Seaside
area,
Hill is good.
Seaside Hill is fun. The town, the metro area is pretty solid. The forest, Zach got stuck on that, but I don't think it's too bad.
And then the casino is where it starts to go downhill, and then it never recovers.
Yeah,
And there's the mansion and the rails and the fortress and like 3 other ones we're not even thinking of right now that are just awful.
So basically,
They're
there's
all in
3
there.
good levels that you play with the different teams.
Yeah.
That game took forever.
Mhm.
With those bogus levels and having to play it so many times. I also remember that the final boss was like stupid as well. Wasn't that the one where you had
Metal
to like
Sonic?
Was that Metal Sonic or was that Eggers?
Metal
Was that
Sonic was
Eggman?
the final boss after beating all
No,
4
the
players.
final boss of each of the stories where you had to like run along there
was
and then you
Eggman.
get to the main like circular area with Eggman's
Oh my
mag.
And you would have to do it again.
Yeah, and you have
You
to,
would
and you
lose that
use
chunk
you
of
use
health,
the strong character, and you just chuck around the other 2 people. You just spam throw them to try and deal damage. Yeah, that's good stuff. Jeez.
Yeah, good game. Number 2, Sonic Adventure 2. Some of this game is fun, but a lot of it is not. Shout out to Mad Space for having awful gravity physics. And the fact that they nerfed the Chaos Emerald Seeker or whatever you call it. Like in the first game, if you were near any of the Chaos Emeralds when you're searching as Knuckles, it would let you know. It would be like, oh, here it is, even if it was the second or third one. But in Sonic Adventure 2, they change it. So only the one that you are currently on, whether that's the first one, or if you find that, then the second one or the third one will show. So you will be flying around that level forever, waiting for that thing to go off to try and find these. And the gravity is just a nightmare.
That's nonsense.
That was a really long level, and that sucked. But we went with the final stage of Sonic Adventure 2. You're having to play as all of the different characters, and some of the moments are absolutely brutal. I had the Knuckles section where you are underwater and you have to swim through this tube. And at the end of the tube, there is this propeller that will launch you back. And if you get launched back once, you will die. You will drown.
I remember the timing being very tight this level.
You had to be perfect. You had to get it off just right to get to a point to avoid the propeller. And when you would get under it, the propeller would go like right away. You had to be perfect. So one, you had to be perfect.
There was some BS where there were like spikes. There were like spikes on the bottom of the floor.
It was something like that.
It would just throw you into, and then if you hit those, your run was basically over because of the recovery frames. Dude, you don't have to be perfect. You literally had to be better than perfect. You had to be perfect, and then the game had to like glitch out to where you got through it. It was so insane. I feel like that is the longest thing you were ever stuck on, Kev. I think there's nothing you were.
I was on that for a while. It
was like over an hour.
That was painful. I wanted to die. It was so bad. And that's not even the end of it, because you have to play as some of the other characters. And to be honest, anytime you have to play in the mechs of the Eggman or Tails, it's a nightmare. And you had to do that here.
So many of those levels. It's just based on our natural rotation. I got so many of those.
Do you guys remember any specific points of the final stage of Sonic Adventure 2? Did we split that up? I think we did. Did we?
I don't remember what
Or did I get stuck with that?
I think you did the whole thing. Yeah, I'm pretty sure you did.
I think I blocked that out of my brain.
Because nothing else was as bad. Like, Tails ran around like the Emerald Coast, and there were like big giant purple explosions everywhere, but that was fine. And I don't remember any of it being horrible except we did split it up. Because I did the Eggers part, and it was horrible. It just popped back in my brain.
In some sort of like space station.
It was in like the space station, and it was horrible. Yeah. I don't remember. I feel like we each did one of each type. Or no, because there's
how was it?
Three of us. I don't remember how
it's been a little while.
Yeah, I don't know how it happened, but yeah.
We had to mix it up so you didn't get Tails every single time. I think we eventually had to change up how we rotated.
Well, because our rotation is just 3 people going through, but if you do that, then you kind of get the same character every time, because it's kind of because there's three different play styles, and so you just get stuck with one or the other.
Yeah,
Sonic Adventure 2. I mean, if you're playing the Sonic levels, it's fine enough, and then Shadow is chilling too. But the problem is that that's not even half the game, because then you've got Tails and Eggman, and then you have Knuckles and Rouge, and none of those are fun. No. So, there's a third or less if any of the Sonic or Shadow levels aren't very fun. Yeah. But that's not number one. Number one is Sonic Unleashed and Eggman Land. If we were talking about how some of these levels were long, we were talking about how like Mystic Mansion, 12 or 13 minutes, and it's just a gauntlet. And if you die, you have to start over again. Try over an hour of Eggman Land. And on our playthrough, about 40 minutes in, our game crashed.
I can remember the screenshot where it crashed so vividly in my mind doing
what
the wall
over
slide.
The lava? And
yeah, you were doing like the Sly Cooper slide along like a wall over a pit of lava. Oh my god.
Yeah, because we were the werehog, and we were like grabbing and like sliding along with his stretchy arms, and then just oh my god, I couldn't believe it.
And if you're gonna get a crash on any level, Eggman Land is not the one. This is the most egregiously long Sonic level in Sonic's history, well over an hour, especially if you don't know what you're doing. If this is like your first time playing through it, you will be here for forever. And, if you die enough times, sorry, dude, you gotta go back.
Yeah. The levels, The length is what makes this so horrible. The level is not super cheesy, and the crash. I don't know if this gets number 1 for us if it didn't crash on us, just because we
Probably
had to
not.
redo
It
the entire
I
thing
think it'd
over
still be
again.
in top 3, but
Uh-huh.
maybe yeah, Sonic Heroes or Sonic Adventure 2 would take it over this, but I think the crash kind of put it over.
Because we didn't fail this level. It wasn't like Final Stage where you died probably 30 times underwater, or Mystic Mansion where Zach biffed that homing attack like 15 times. Like, we completed this level pretty easily. It was just the length is just unacceptable. An hour long. Have you ever played a platformer with an hour long level where if you ran out of lives, you had to start over? Because I can't think of one. That's just insane.
And not knowing that in advance. Like, if you're a kid playing through this and it's like, all right, we got one thing left, and it just doesn't end, and you're like, what is going on? Oh, yeah. I mean, like, thinking back to how Zach was stuck on that level in Heroes for like an hour, and just the main playtime of Eggman Land was about that is just ridiculous.
Yeah.
And even if we didn't die enough times to get a game over, once you get towards the end and you're like 45, 50 minutes plus in, it just gets more stressful, because then it's like, shoot, if I die here, I got to do this whole thing over again.
Mm-hmm.
So that leaves you open to making some stupid mistakes and possibly having to do that over again. Sonic Unleashed is a pretty difficult game.
It is hard.
Oh, yeah. That music. But some of the levels are fun. Daytime
Yeah.
stages, they're a good time.
Which
Collecting the
continued
medals in the
to
daytime
course in
stages,
generations.
not as fun.
Oh my god.
So that is our ranking. Number 12, Sonic Forces in No Space. Number 11, Sonic Colors Terminal Velocity. Number 10, Sonic and the Black Knight with those stupid boss fights. Number 9, Sonic Adventure with Lost World. Number 8, Shadow the Hedgehog Lost Impact. Number 7, Sonic Generations with Planet Wisp. Number 6, Sonic Lost World with Lava Mountain Zone 2. Number 5, Sonic and the Secret Rings, Levitated Ruin. Number 4, Sonic 06 with Kingdom Valley. Number 3, Sonic Heroes, Mystic Mansion, Rail Canyon, Final Fortress, the second half of the game, second 2/3.
Yeah.
Any of those. Number 2, Sonic Adventure with Final Stage. And number 1, Sonic Unleashed, Eggman Land.
There it is.
Great list.
Great levels, great games.
list.
Now, they're all bogus, but they provide the most memorable moments. You go to
They
the
do.
bottom of the list, and it's kind of hard to remember some of those games, but the things that stick out from our time playing through those games is basically the top half of that list.
Yep.
Just all of those levels and the pain of playing through that, and realizing that if I played these as a kid, I think I'd be scarred. If I was like 10 years old and playing through some of these games.
That was me.
I guess
Oh my God.
I guess I'd just be Zach and not play the second 2/3 of Sonic Heroes. And just
I don't think
keep
you would
playing
be
the
scarred,
first
because when
level.
you're a kid, you're just like, I don't know what's going on, whatever. But when you're an adult, you're like, wow, this is terrible game design. This is awful. Yeah.
That was a fun list. I'm glad we finally did that. I've been wanting to do that sort of list for a while.
Yeah.
There it is, ranking all of the 3D Sonic games based on their most bogus level. You heard it here. Sonic Unleashed with Eggman Land. Number 1. Don't play Sonic
Woo!
Heroes. The
Don't.
second 2/3 of that.
It's not worth it.
It's,
It doesn't hold up.
you will lose something like Zach did.
I'll never get it back.
It's stuck in that game forever. All right, that's going to do it for us on this week's episode of Ode to Games. Look out for next week. We're going to be talking about all of the showcases. We've got Summer Game Fest. We've got the Microsoft Bethesda showcase. Hopefully, we'll have something from Nintendo to talk about as well. It's going to be a busy show next week, but that'll be it for this week. We're here on Thursdays, Fridays. Today, special day again with Saturday because of special circumstances, but normally we're here on Thursdays or Fridays. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, other podcast streaming services that you may use. We're on YouTube at Ode to Games, so you can check out the video version there. We're on Twitter at Ode to Games. You can send an email to odegamescast@gmail.com. For Logan and Zach, I'm Kevin. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll catch you next week.